Right now.
You have to over that with your phone. It's certainly pleasure. If you want to take a picture of your phone, I think the 20 has been right there, so we have our VSD.
Alright, yeah, you're the microphone. I think that's the last one, so I just have to do this.
Thanks, dear. Not myself.
So,
Yeah.
It was.
That's my house. Now I'm going.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's, yeah. I need your contact and. Check. I can't. This is. I'm not saying that as a good, sometimes, but. I'm not, if you get good, you're doing fine. How long? Not so sure. Okay, but that's fine.
10 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, if everybody's ready, call the meeting to order. Silence your cell phones, please. And we'll have the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Father, we ask that you join us tonight, help us through the business of the township. We ask and pray these things in Jesus' name, amen. All right. So we're gonna be without our clerk again this evening. We do have the deputy clerk here with us. She will be joining us on Zoom. Told she's not there yet. So I'll do roll call. Michelle Jackson.
Here.
Dave Cost. Here. Bob Underhill. Here. Jim Lephew. Here. Christine Johnson, absent. Okay, is there any disclosures of conflict tonight, Michelle?
No.
Bob? No. Jake? No. Myself, neither. Good, everybody have a agenda? We do have a couple things there. 9C, and we had a motion to move some funds for covered expenses that were covered in our ARPA allotment, and what we need to do is reimburse the accounts or determine which accounts certain monies were paid out of, so we can redeposit that ARPA money into those accounts appropriately, so money that was spent majority of long before any of us were even here, so add that on 8C, or excuse me, 9C in the treasurer's report. And then also, I have on the planning commission, in addition to A, I have B, the Gaylord rezoning denial, and C, just an acknowledgement that the planning commission has a special meeting on June 21st regarding short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those are the only additions that I add to the agenda. Is there anything else anybody wants to amend or change? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. All those in favor? All right. All right, this is to public comment, 3 minutes, go ahead, for Kenny.
Yeah, I was thinking we're due close to the time we usually send out a newsletter. I was wondering if you considered that and as a possibility, be able to get out with the taxes.
We'll take that under consideration and they can August or September or
July.
July. July 1st, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So that would be something we would have to do very quickly. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Scott Schubert. I live on Crystal Beach Road. I'm a resident in El Capitan County. Before meeting all of you, it's good to be here. I would like the council to consider the possibility or the exploration of a bike trail on Crystal Beach Road, either through some kind of feasibility study or setting up a committee of which I would very happily participate in. I think a bike and hiking trail on Crystal Beach Road would have 3 main benefits. Number one, safety. People walking on that road are in significant jeopardy with cars passing by quickly. Number two, the enjoyment of the residents of the township and our visitors to the township. And number three, I think it's probably the one area where the township and Rapid City get the most public visibility from outsiders, so kind of brand reputation and the reputation of the county would be enhanced. So I think for those 3 reasons, some type of a feasibility study, look into possible designs and the cost and how we would pay for it. So, thank you very much for your consideration.
Appreciate that. I know that idea has been brought up a number of times over the years, but I don't know if we've ever had a volunteer for a committee chair to take something up like that, but I for one would support you on that. It's not really included in our roads, but it kind of, because it's next to a road. And I know we didn't have a road committee meeting this week. We had a couple people out of town, so. But I did hear your spiel at the road commission meeting too, so. I shouldn't call it a spiel, it's a good idea.
Again, I don't know what the process is for this, board to approve a committee or feasibility study or kind of what the next steps would be, so I'm open to whatever
Mhm.
suggestions the board has for looking into it.
I think we should talk to the dirt trail committee and see what advice we could get from them.
That's a Julie Clark.
Yeah.
And does the board have to authorize me to start making some phone calls on behalf of the township, or do, will the board council member need to be doing that?
At this point, no. Not that I'm not excited that we have someone willing to, work on something like that, but I think it's just a little too preliminary to just like, throw that out there, but maybe, other than public comment, we generally don't interact.
Sure.
But it's something we can talk about together.
Thank you.
We'll discuss it at some point. Okay, any other public comment, Dave?
Yeah, just addressing his comment, the Michigan State, course study has a lot of that included in that language, connecting in and including the Skigama Old Railroad Grade and the tar trails. That is part of their long-term commitment 10, 15 years ago. So I brought that up to our meeting in December, and they were all excited, so it's nothing that they're gonna jump into right away, but it is some of the organization skills that we are gonna start developing. Because we included Rapid City, Heritage Park, Freedom Park, our accesses, so that's all included in that.
That would connect them all.
Yeah, yeah, so we have somewhat of a tentative, pretty good plan already developed.
Deep.
I'm just wondering if Metro Fund can be used for that.
What was your question?
The Metro Fund, sorry, I'm on.
Oh,
There's like
got it.
30 some thousand in there, but it's supposed to be along the roadway, but you're taking stuff off the roadway, like for safety, if we.
Anything within the road, right away, we can use that metro.
Yeah, as long as it's going along the right way. I didn't know if it was gonna veer off anywhere.
For those of you that may not know, Metro Fund is monies that we collect from utility companies that use our right of ways. They bury their wires, they use poles all over this, well, we collect a fee, I think it's per mile or.
How much is it?
Per foot, so
It's in
about
the
15 grand a
the
year.
treasurer's report behind you, there's 30,
No, but it's like 15 a year or something that we get.
Yeah.
It's been a little while since we used too much.
In a year?
What's that?
There's 30
a year?
Yeah, I think it's about 15 a year.
yeah.
I'd have to ask Michelle, maybe,
30.
It would be in the treasurer's report, what is in that account.
And it is yearly, so, yeah.
Looks like, well, we've got it divided up a little bit, but. It looks like about 34,000. Give or take about 34.
So, I mean, you got something related to that? Yeah, you go ahead.
Go ahead then, Dan.
That would also fall under, I believe, under the Michigan Complete Streets Act.
Yes.
And there may be some grant money available for that where they focus on non-motorized transportation.
Exclusively.
Safe.
Yes, yes.
Michigan Incomplete, Michigan Complete Streets, Complete Streets.
So I think. Good question.
Go ahead, Frank.
Do you have the authority? And he said, hold on. I don't think you ever need authority to get outside money. Okay?
Yeah.
And if you talk to people out there, bikers, if they wanna contribute, say, obviously you can't take their money till you got a company planning. But, but if you came and said, hey, Jim, I got, some people looking to probably have some money. I don't think you need authority to get that help, and I think a lot of people would do that.
Any other public comment? Yes,
So
Carol.
along that same vein, Mel's on the soft shoulders,
Mhm.
all winter, it was, if your tire comes off, you're going. But last week, because of all the construction on Hammond City Road, I took valley work. And I came around the corner and there was a gentleman on a bicycle. Fortunately, in the other lane coming at me, but it was on the curbs. I was so concerned for him because everybody's taking valley to avoid that. Everybody's driving the speed limit, which is 55. And I thought, oh my goodness, with the corners the way they are, because there is no shoulder for them to ride on. It's just so dangerous. I just hope that in the future, when we do roadways, we consider that and maybe get a shoulder and stuff.
Would you like to be on his committee when I appoint him? You may have some connections on that, and not, I'm just saying.
Never know.
Okay, any other public comment before we get going here? All set? Yeah.
You have one more, is it Calacaspy County? Yes. Have you asked them for money? Just to put a road on Crystal Beach, because those people are having a hard time getting their roads paved, that's one of the worst roads. So if they're not gonna be collecting in one way by not being in the road, so you can't get one foot in the bike.
Well, yeah, anybody for money, this is the first place I want to, make sure to start with, the leaders here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on here. All right, we have no Deputy Crichton, and Commissioner Bickman isn't here, so. It kind of upsets me a little bit because we didn't get a written report from the county sheriff's department either this month, so. They're doing a good job of ignoring us since the contract canceled. I haven't seen too many patrol cars. I have seen one or two cruising through, but I see more wheelies through town than I do cop cars, and that's a problem, in my opinion. Just throw it out there, if you do see that type of behavior, at least, extremely fast and loud motorcycles and vehicles and that, don't hesitate to call it in, because that'll just be more ammunition. As far as why they should be supporting us out here, we're providing 15% of the county's budget, which the sheriff's department is the largest portion of the budget of the whole county, so you would think we would get something for that. All right, well, I guess that we're have no guest speakers. We'll move on to approval of the May 15th regular meeting minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at those. Any corrections, omission, addition? Okay, if everybody has had a chance to look at those and they're comfortable with them, I'll entertain one motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? All right. Okay. No, you have a correction, no, or?
No.
No, okay. All those opposed?
Me.
Okay, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Did I get your roll call?
Yeah.
Okay, was it yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Just didn't write it down. Okay, move on to the treasurer's report. Michelle.
Okay, and there's a copy of it, so you should be able to access that copy. We balanced with the clerk and we both balanced with banks. We have been working on trying to find services that the state can reimburse us for scrubbing our budget and creating financial policies. So, I had a list of 3 that were handed to me. One declined, one we have not heard back, but we have heard from Brian Kirby with Plant Moran. And then we were also provided a couple of referrals from the Raymond Group. AHP, accountants and advisors, and H&S companies Raymond Group thought that those three companies would be better to meet our needs than they would be able to. And they're also very expensive. They charge about $3.25 an hour, even though the state would reimburse. They just felt like we would be better off one of the others. We have some dates we're working on, meeting on teams with Plant Moran, and, that will be the supervisor. And I initially meeting with them because we have to have, can only have 2 board members, at a time. And so, other than that, Jim had already addressed moving funds, from ARPA to the committed 2025, so that,
It's actually from Michigan Class. Instead from ARPA.
it's, yeah, it's, so if you want to be technical, Michigan class, that is going to committed 2025 to be able to pay
Yes,
what was approved under ARPA.
Formation that.
yes.
Yes, yes. And, the only other, thing I had, I'll wait until the end to go over, and, other than that, I think that we're all set. The amount, it looks like we're transferring is $76,444.18.
And we're transferring from Michigan Class, which is our investment account,
What to general funds?
yes, to the committed 2025 funds sub-bank account so that we can disperse it to the proper accounts on, throughout our budget.
Yes.
And you
Okay.
voted.
Yes,
You vote to do
we
that?
did,
We're voting to do it right now. I thought this is your motion, correct?
yes,
Okay. I will make this motion.
and I will second this motion.
I actually wrote it up for you, the other copy of it, you know, if you want
I have it right
to.
now, yeah. We all have a copy. Okay, okay, on the motion to transfer $76,444.18 from Michigan Class to the committed 2025 fund sub-bank account. Michelle, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Dave? Bob?
Yes.
Yeah, Jim, yes. All right, that motion passes. Okay. Would you care to continue, or is that complete your?
That completes, I guess, when the clerk report, you know, I'll wait till we get past the clerk's report, past me.
I'm looking on here and Christine is not on the Zoom yet. So I'm gonna,
You text her.
yes, if you would, that'd be great. I'm gonna go ahead and pause number 10 there and we'll revisit it. As we move along, and when she chimes in on Zoom, we'll pick that back up. That brings us to written reports by department. Which fire department chief is not here. I don't know if you all were provided a report. Total number of incidents 35. With 10 different types, of incidents. We actually had a building fire, 4 brush or grass fires, 15 medical assists. 9 canceled en route, and 1 false alarm, alarm system activation, shorted equipment, arcing, power line down, motor vehicle accident, just 1 apiece of those. Yep. Let's see here. Okay, that will complete the Fire department's report, any questions or anything on that? Anybody? I don't know if I have answers, but I will just entertain questions. All right, move on to planning commission, Dan.
While you all received the written report, so
Yes.
that covers most of what we did at the meeting there. Of course, we had the yearly rezoning request.
Yes, my understanding that, planning commission denied it, but there's a waiting period for the county to enact or.
We voted to recommend to the board to deny the application. There is a 30-day requirement that it goes to the Kalkaska County Planning Commission for their review. It's there now, so it should come to you guys for you vote whether to approve or deny it next month at your next month's meeting. It'll come with the planning commission's recommendation to deny it. And that's kind of where we are with that one. We're looking at the area, RV campsite, I'm not sure what to call it now. We kind of screwed up, we had to get a notification in the paper this week and it didn't make it, so we were gonna have that on July 7th, so. We're not going to be able to have that public hearing now on July 7th, the earliest we could have it is July 12th. So we'll talk about that at our meeting on Saturday morning.
Okay.
Briefly and come back with something for you guys.
Okay, might wanna tell everybody what the meeting's about Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday morning from 8 to 11 a.m. We're having a meeting here, to work on the short-term rental ordinance. So all are invited to that. And then they see you had set the fee for kayak launch.
Yes,
It's really of course, the board has to set that fee, but we kicked it around with the planning commission and also with you there that probably in the $500 or $600 range per season wouldn't be unreasonable. And maybe a couple $100 discount if it's a Clearwater Township company that's requesting that. It's
500, 300,
500, 300, 600, 400.
resident 300, 500.
Yeah.
Non-resident.
Right, and see how that goes.
Any discussion on the board about that? This is for the permitting to launch kayak from the Birch Street access by commercial, people. We're gonna require a permit for that to happen. And no parking is allowed at the, thing. This is companies that sell the service of bringing kayaks to Birch Street and allowing people to launch their kayaks there. No parking for these people. They're shuttled back and forth to the business, trying to help create parking spaces down there when we can. So, we already have our first individual, this Grand Valley Marine, was the one that initially applied for this and they're waiting to pay for their permit and we didn't set a fee rate for the permit, so.
Yearly,
I'm sorry?
yearly,
Yes, a yearly permit,
once
a
a year.
seasonal, $500, yes. 300 for your case, but
I'm just saying, do they make money?
I'm sure they do.
A lot of money.
I don't know, but
So,
Especially, oh, yes, Grand Valley Marine, is that the one on the corner, Grand Unit, yes, so they would be anonymous.
they would be a 500, yeah. Any addition, discussion on this, or I make a motion to set the fee at 500 and 300 for resident, non-resident respectively?
I agree.
All right, I'll go ahead and,
do you know Heather and Dave from the village market? They used to work there all the time.
Heather and Dave.
No, from Roger. Well, they had those see-through kayaks that they were hustling off right there by the new boat ramp.
If people do things, yes.
They were legit and said they were making so much money that they weren't sure if they could maintain it, so they sold it to the other girl who's out there now. I don't know if you noticed across from the hardware store. She's out there renting them just to people at the sandbar and people in that, right there.
That's in Milton Township, that bunch on the other side.
But if they are making 20 grand a year, maybe $300 or $500 isn't something to come into it. You know what I mean? Someone's gotta
We
know
can
that
always
business
re-
better than us, maybe.
We can always reevaluate it, but, right now, we're discussing.
Got it.
what we're doing. Okay, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we, establish the recreational craft road ending site permit application fee to be $500 for non-residents and $300 for the resident. Is there a second?
I'll second
Okay, on the motion for the fee rate, how do you vote, Michelle?
Yes.
Bob?
that. Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Jim, yes. That motion carries. Okay, anything else on the planning commission before we move on?
No, I think that's going in.
Anybody have anything for the planning commission chair, any questions? All right, we'll move on. Parks and Rec. I see Dave is in the audience and we have a number of other participants, Joanne, and we have a written report. Couple of things on the docket here. We have to decide whether or not to allow Tim Lund to continue to work at his current rate, and also in the Parks and Rec report, they actually asked to increase to 10 hours a week, which would more or less double it to another $750 for another 6-week period. Same kind of thing. I see.
So they're asking the board to match
Yes.
those hours.
That's what it is in the actual Parks and Rec request letter, yes, they are. They don't necessarily have the funds, this is something we would have to backfill them for. What I understand, I have to look at Parks and Rec, so. Budget, I think 22,000 is what was in there right now.
That's how I understand the story of my, it was stated at Parks and Rec meeting that they only have $3,000 for the rest of the year.
Mhm.
And on the treasury report, it shows 20,155. Because they budgeted, what do they budget? What's their budget? What do they have planned for that money? They should have a budget.
When you say plan for which mine, the 22 or the 3?
The 22, the money they had in there, they're seeing this money in the treasurer's report. It's basically budgeted throughout the year already, so whether they have it, we should have their budget. To know where they're spending this. I don't have we seen.
They're saying that $19,000 that is committed and there's only 3,000 what's that committed for.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that we haven't removed the money that we paid for the Sinclair
No, we,
equipment. We've
Yeah.
already said that?
yeah, it was
Okay.
paid for parts.
Okay. Well, then, I would have to defer to you or Christine, because
Christine would get any invoices that came through
Mhm.
for proposed payment. She is accounts payable.
Mhm.
And I am accounts receivable.
Mhm.
So I take in money. And she makes payments and receives and approves and brings invoices to board to approve. Dave?
I don't know, I would handle any decisions until you actually see their budget.
Yes, I
Like,
would.
where do we plan on spending the money? They have money, where's it going in budget?
well, what we're asked right now is to whether or not Tim is gonna be continuing.
Yeah.
$750 is in their budget. We know that that is at least there.
Cause our budget's that, so.
Yeah, we don't have extra money in our budget.
All right, so we're gonna do what then? End the Timlin work or what?
Well, I guess that would be up to, the committee to decide and to bring that to us as far as.
They just did. They put in their letter that they want him to continue. In
So
fact,
they
they
want
want
him
to
to-
double it.
Yes, and then they want us to pay for it versus them paying for it. Correct.
That is how it was explained in the letter, yes. But, you know, we are Parks and Rec too. I mean,
Yeah, we oversee
Yes.
the money. so-
yeah, but I mean,
You can tell them to use their money against you to prove it.
yes.
Yes,
I hear
Well, if you don't pay him, you have to pay somebody.
That's right. I mean,
Exactly.
and to be honest with you, having done a considerable amount of work with Mr. Lund over here and Andrew and his dad and a whole bunch of people working, I can tell you that Tim is producing, things are happening, and I hope people are visiting parks down there and see what's going on, so. If it was up to me and the moment I'll have one vote, I would say, yes, we should be continuing it, at least at the 5 hour level. I, for one, would like to see him, you know, work 10 hours a week.
and I would like to see him continue. My only argument is to pay for it, which budget accounts paying for it.
Hmm.
As Parks and Rec should pay for it.
And both budgets pay for it?
What about maintenance? I mean, that is. You know, we're
Um,
saving money on maintenance right now. We could pull some money out of maintenance and put it in,
We could do that.
Mhm.
We could vote on it.
okay?
I'm not opposed to that. How much money is in that, that we're saving in that budget for maintenance?
Well, I can't tell you exactly. I know that you haven't spent any money on the cemetery in months. There is some mowing taking place by Andrew, my deputy, so he will.
And it looks.
So, I mean, there is some funds going out to that, but, I think we're saving on maintenance because we don't have a maintenance guy. It's not that. It's any big savings, but it is, you know. One person's salary every month. So,
$750, I guess, they're asking for.
so the initial 750 already came out of Parks and Rec. For the amount that he's approved for this first 6 weeks or whatever. So I'm gonna make a motion that we take, I think $1,500 would cover the 10 hours for another 6 week period.
So are you thinking $750 from Parks and Rec and Township Mark matching?
Well, they're already committed to the
$750?
first 750. I'm talking about when that 6 weeks expires. We would continue at 10 hours a week for another 6 week period. So it'd be $1,500. Both the maintenance, put in Parks and Rec and payment of that. Okay, I'll make a motion, we move $1,500 from our maintenance resources to Parks and Rec. For the purpose of keeping Tim Lund, 10 hours. Is there any more discussion on that? Anybody else want to comment?
When you say maintenance resources, you're talking.
The salary of our maintenance department personnel, which isn't being paid right now because of the short maintenance guy. We just take $1,500 from that and move into Parks and Rec and allow Tim to continue on that.
And that'll be more than just the ball fields that you take care of.
He is exclusively Heritage Park maintenance and creation. A lot of people don't know Tim was one of the founding people there.
Well, I know he really wanted to concentrate on the ballpark.
Yep.
Part of it, the whole park.
That's Heritage Park.
That's what I'm saying.
You still need to make this person for the.
Oh, I understand completely, but it's all of Heritage Park, not just the ball fields.
Right.
Okay.
Correct, 100%.
of Heritage Park, every single blade of grass. I was down there yesterday, it looks great.
Thanks, even better. Okay, so I made the motion, I'll wait for a second. And is there any interest in that? All right, motion. Okay, on the motion to move $1,500 from maintenance department resources to Parks and Rec for the purpose of paying 10 hours a week for 6 weeks. Motion made by me and seconded by Bob. How do you vote, Michelle?
I'm gonna vote yes.
Dave?
No.
Bob?
Yes.
Jim is yes. All right, that motion carries.
And that'll be in the minutes for approval at the next general meeting. When we approve the minutes.
Yep, it'll be in there, yep. Very good. Okay, playground and equipment update.
Well, are you on item B?
That's what I just moved to, but if you have something yet you want to discuss on the last one, we can talk about it.
Well, item B is, regarding, character. Part of that.
On our agenda, B is playground equipment update.
Okay, I'm looking at the Parks and Rec.
There you go, there. Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, and we can review that here too. I just wanted to give a quick update on that playground equipment. I know Dave's been involved in that, him and I attended, well, he's on Parks and Rec, but I attended too. We got picked to look into the setup and that, so go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, after Mr. West, addressed our Parks and Rec meeting, I went down and reviewed the playground equipment. It's in worse condition than we can imagine. Worse. Nothing's level, nothing's, it's just the cement's sticking up. So I, propose, we put a snow fence around it and put do not enter and do not let anybody on. There's a liability coming fast, it could happen tonight. That's dangerous as can be. That should have never been allowed, the format of how the whole Parks and Rec even snowballed that thing through that. With Grace and I conducting business with the Parks and Rec, those type of business dealings will never happen again. That should have never been possible. And before we contact Playtime or whatever the name is.
Sinclair.
Do you guys as a board want to get a second opinion by somebody within the county or some other credible person? So that when we contact them, we have something else to tell them, because they really need to come and reset that. Tear it apart, reset it, put it somewhere else, move it over. That ground was never prepared right. It was just a total terrible job. Just total.
Okay.
Dave, if I may, I have done a lot of research through federal standards and with state of Michigan standards. The state of Michigan always refers back to federal. But there's a lot of serious issues that I am not thinking that they do not meet requirements as the federal guidelines. And I was going to ask Jim if, to get some freebie stuff here, to have our insurance company come back and review the structure.
Mm-hmm.
As it stands, it's supposed to be 10 feet perimeter from any climbing structure. You on each end, there's what do you call that?
Rock climb.
Climbing a wall or whatever. And depending on that, where you go, you can fall off. And there's a feature of entrapment on top of that.
Yep.
Where it all comes together, it's an entrapment if, you know, a kid catches their foot and this stuff. The rock wall is just, I'm sorry, but very poor design because it leans in like this. And you can climb on either side of, on this side or on the inside. And you can fall off on the inside and hit your head.
We looked at it together and.
Yeah, there's a lot of serious issues.
Okay, at the Parks and Rec,
Mentioned what Dave was saying, as well as with the cemented, you know, was just don't.
at the Parks and Rec, meeting, didn't they designate you and I to contact
Yes,
them
sir.
together?
Yes, sir. So I'm being cautious in bringing that up to whether the board wants to do. To get a second opinion, which I think would be great, or a third opinion on the condition of it. And just not, I don't feel we should contact them without getting a second or third opinion so that we have credibility.
Exactly.
I'm not kidding you, we should put a snow fence around there.
It
with
is.
Snow fence?
Yes,
Okay, they just went in?
And I would like to read the contract, please. And we
I think I forwarded that to you.
pardon?
I think I forwarded that contract to you.
It wasn't in there. It was other things that you forwarded. But not the contract. We need the contract. And the actual person that designed it, if it was.
It was like a package deal when they looked at it. It was like 3 packages. They picked 2 and they let the board pick the one of the 2, so. Our previous board actually picked that.
And then it put the warranty on the actual work besides the equipment.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I did not participate. in
Right,
that
I
before our time,
neither,
so.
I'm just wondering if we have any type of warranty in writing from them.
Okay.
Anything made out of plastic, California, we know is radical, but most places that involve anything have a stamp on the plastic, and that plastic will tell you what kind of plastic it is, and if it's any kind of carcinogen or such. None of this does any markings. So it might come down to.
Yeah.
It's been real vague of us trying to get information from the previous.
Yes,
They were just refused to give us any information. I've asked countless times.
we'll get it. We'll get it.
So that's why we don't have information.
Frank, quickly.
There's one people that put those in their backyard.
Yes.
When I worked for HUD in New York City, we did 11 playgrounds. Every single one of them had 6-inch rubber mat. If you walk up to the chain that you climb, it's anchored in concrete, but not finished concrete, stone footing concrete. Every one of those footings, I would bet, would be at least 6 inches underground. So to get a second opinion, probably the manufacturer will give it to you for free. The blueprint, the whole shit, on how to put that in your backyard, because that's what wealthy people put in their backyard. But they don't just, I mean, no one inspected. And if anybody would have had a brain, look at that. It's cut and dry. When you go there, you look, Chuck, climb up the chain, the thing is inverted, that thing that the kids climb up.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's backyard. Yes, and unfortunately, those people are already paid. So, yeah, right, you can't just go after them and say, we want our money back, because you screwed up. But I think the manufacturer and any of the blueprints that come with that would surely tell you how to do that if you were a home, let alone a commercial entity.
And please keep in mind when it gets to the point where it's time to pull the mulching down. Keep in mind that you should add at least 25% more because it will settle.
Sure. I am still looking at our insurance company, Michigan Power Plant will reimburse us for whatever fall material we decide on, but I don't think at this point we can decide on anything until we get the concrete and all that other things figured out, so it's pointless to do that. All right, anything else on that Parks and Rec letter that we need to look at? Still no Christine?
Well, there are several things on the committee report in Parks and Rec.
Yeah, okay. Parks and Rec. Oh, here's. Okay, we have a
a situation where our chairperson, the Parks and Rec Department is made up of volunteers. We appreciate our volunteers completely. Sometimes it doesn't always work out and people that volunteer have other commitments and things like that. And it turns out that our Parks and Rec chairman just was unable because of life's duties that he missed quite a few meetings. And there was a recommendation made that he should maybe be replaced. We've had a couple of people volunteer to fill that position. I think I know them both fairly well. This is probably the first time we've had co-chairs. We've had a chair and a vice chair before, but a co-chair, I'm not sure exactly. I know you two want to work together on things, but maybe diversifying and you taking certain areas and Grace taking other areas.
That's
Maybe
what
the way to do
that's
it,
what we're
but,
gonna do.
you know, we still are all one team and work together. They're asking us. And I honestly don't know if it is this board's duty or our responsibility to appoint the chair. Honestly, I don't recall hearing
It
that
is.
before.
A chairperson of committee can only be appointed by a supervisor,
Okay. And that comes from
Robert's rules.
Robert's rules. Okay. Well, I would like to hear some discussion then from the board. If I'm gonna be the one to make the thing, I'd like to consult. Any other conversation?
Have you received any information from the chairperson on his desire to resign their position?
We did get some, but I don't know if one was from Mike or not. I know we got one from Kelly.
I mean, did you talk to him, like, maybe he didn't?
I talked to him the other day, on his birthday.
Okay,
And, he told me that his intent was to step down, but
Okay.
he couldn't make it to the meeting to do that, so.
okay.
The board asking to replace him is kind of like part of the communication that Mike had with him that he was gonna be stepping down, so. And again, I think it's just life, you know, busy, we all have things.
I just think it's important that conversation took place, that you share that.
Well, I can tell you that he indicated to me that he would not be able to fulfill his duties and more or less recommended, that we fill his spot.
I mean, the way I read this, it's like he didn't communicate that.
Well, he does a lot of out of town work and I think that's probably the times when he was not within communication and so.
But what I'm saying is, if that just happened on his birthday.
The conversation between him and I.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that you should have, said something about item B that Michael did bring to my attention.
Mhm.
Instead of me having to bring it to your attention.
Well, Parks and Rec is the one that requested it, I'm just reporting what Parks and Rec
Well, I
requested,
know,
it's not my request when you step down.
Yeah, I know, the point of it, he did communicate to you
Mhm.
that he was gonna step down, so I think you should have started out with item B, saying that you did talk to Michael and he indicated to you that he stepped down.
Parks and Rec met in the beginning of the month, this was just 1 or 2 days ago that I met with Dave, just. So this was written and decided long before I had my meeting with him.
I know, but now that we're on it today,
Yep, and again, I had a conversation with him 2 days ago. And he told me it was his intention to step down. So.
If you look back at the minutes, last Parks and Rec meeting, Christie acknowledged that Michael told her that he wanted to step down. And so that was,
So it's mentioned that-
indication of the talk, is where we are with Crazy.
Right. Okay, also Christie and Kelly stepped down too, so we have some vacancies on Parks and Rec, if anybody's interested.
And while we're on that subject, I'm officially resigning the board of representation for Parks and Rec.
Okay,
So hopefully another board member will step up and take that role.
okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and appoint Grace and Dave as co-chairs of Parks and Rec. I have complete confidence in both of them. So,
Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking to me?
no, I was just saying, I just appointed you and Grace co-chairs
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
and,
I would like to make one other point. Oh, it wasn't mentioned in the report, Jody was voted in as our secretary.
right, Christie resigned
Yeah.
and Jody and our,
Maintenance, or cleaner.
yes,
Oh,
housekeeping individual. She is also the coordinator of Kalkaska County Commission on Aging. She has a degree in recreation, community recreation,
I
parks and
think it's a
recreation.
master's degree.
Yes, so she will be a great asset, I'm sure. She's a little skittish because of disorganization, but I think she's gonna help bring some of that.
Huge
Yeah.
asset.
Okay, anything else here?
Yeah, do you want, I have kind of a report, of what's going on with Parks and Rec with the Patriot game and whatnot. Is it now? Should I bring it up?
Patriot,
End of meeting.
Patriot Green, for those of you that haven't seen that, there's a June 28th, the Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'll go ahead, let Dave go ahead quickly.
Oh, okay, well, we have our, first pitch, guest coming, Jonathan Turnbull. He's got, we have Senator Michelle Okinga, Sheriff Mike Borkovich, Grand River Sheriff Mike Shea, Camp Graylings, Camp Commander, Lucas Lancy. Jonathan's has some Gold Star mothers coming, or mother, from, one of the deceased Navy SEALs from his situation in Syria. We have the Kingsley High School ROTC is honor guard. And then we're helping out with the event. We have the Traverse City Young Marines helping out with our event. They just returned from, the Marines just returned from Washington DC. They were presented some artifacts that they called Washington DC and asked, what do you want to do with this stuff? Long story short, they just came or they're on their way back or whatever. It was about a World War I veteran from Rapid City. And a bunch of presidents were involved in this and they immediately says, bring her down. So Rapid City's on the map of this World War I. Yeah, it was very, I don't know all the details of it, but then we have,
One second. All of those things that he was just describing are gonna happen at the Pittsburgh game on
Yes.
June 28th.
30th,
June 30th, I thought it was 28th.
30th, Monday.
Okay, Monday, June 30th.
And, we have all the armed services coming. Waiting on the Coast Guard and whatever Camp Grayling equipment they're gonna bring. They're having problems with Lansing and whatnot. KLT and WTCM are bringing 4 vehicles and 5 or 6 DJs to the event. They're bringing their big truck, a big radio, and 2 other trucks.
You should mention that we get a take on the ticket sales that day.
Yeah.
This is all
Go to the
raising
QR code. And,
The QR code on the flyer.
yes, and you just tell them at the box office and they'll work you through it. So we get $3 up to 100 and then it goes to 4, up to another bunch. And,
This is raising money for Patriot Park up there on the hill.
we're part sponsor, were gracious to let us, Clearwater Township, be part of it. And actually, I'm organizing the whole thing.
Dave, what's the end amount that they would, give us if we, if you're welcome, you know?
$3 for every ticket up to 100, and then it goes to $4 a ticket, and then they got another $5 range, so. It just depends
We
on.
need the hustle.
Pardon?
We need the hustle.
Well, I'm
You
getting,
got that.
I get to that here in a minute, I'll talk fast, you guys. We, will be on, WKLT and TCM probably next Thursday or Friday. And they'll be talking us up. 7 and 4 News is doing a story tomorrow. We are meeting at, Mark Solet is meeting us at, Visitor Stadium. And, the Record Eagle will be doing a story next week. We have a theme truck coming from, Matt's Underground, which is really nice. Cold front diesels bringing about 7 vehicles in a big tent. We're gonna display some local businesses in Clearwater Township, Kalkaska. I think the conservation district's coming, so we'll have a little area of Clearwater Township vendors and businesses. Blair Township's bringing stuff, and they're working on other equipment. Elmer's is possibly gonna bring some stuff, or you can call me tomorrow. Alberton Tree Service, right here up the road, Zimmerman, they are bringing a big boom truck there. Elmer has loaned us a 50 by 30 flag, which they'll be hanging off their boom truck. There's, and I wanted to go over a couple of things real quickly. Butterfly Zoo, Cindy up here, they want to be all involved with us, develop a monarch city, encouraging habitat. We'll start planting, we're gonna plant down at the Juniper Garden, some of that stuff. And they have also are affiliated with Eyes for Heroes, the national group, and one of their, other guys is our employees is involved with that group. And, it's a national group. And, Cherry Bee Incorporated has offered to supply us with beehives, honey beehives up at the Patriot Park. They think it's a perfect place. And then real quickly, there's been talk about Fireman's Park down here. It's on the master plan that is a park. I haven't found any notation if it's not. So if it is, something for the board to talk about. Alberton Tree Service has offered to remove all those trees, and everything for free. And, pardon? Right over here, it's River Street, the other end of River Street, the dirt road. And, our way, just before Garfield, that little triangle, that's just a mess. And so if you guys would like to do that, he would schedule that for about a month from now. And, cause he's that busy, and no charge. And, he, also is interested in, if you guys, for the Patriot Park, we're gonna start working on that. We're looking at a Heroes for Fire. He's all behind that, and the two of us are gonna start working on that. We wanna get into a program to give, our military people that need help, we wanna give them fire. So we wanna get into all different types of plans around here, and new directions with our park. And, so anyways, those are, if you guys thought that would be something, he'd schedule that into a month from now to remove those trees. And then I would talk to Avery Excavating to get in there, and they would level everything and sure falls for free and grade it all out. And my conception of that is to get some water from the fire department, get it tumbled on the road, and put a fireman's memorial there. And then I'll talk to Juniper Garden Club into making that a garden through there.
That's long-term stuff.
Well, I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Perhaps
Joanne,
you could do.
Pat 'em on the back.
Supervise and so they can talk.
Pardon?
Perhaps a tree removal guy could meet with the supervisor, and the board could make a motion that, getting them
If you approve that, yes, I think that's a good idea.
right
Is
now.
that lawful?
I think so, no, I think we need to take care of the parks we have before we create them, you know.
These are locust trees, they're a pain, it'd be nice to have them out of there when we.
Freedom Park, yes, hand drills and. Fences that needs-
This is.
Okay, you remind me one thing, Dairy Dew has an estimate for us. Using their product, if we wanted to get into that, we didn't have to use it all, but for a whole year, about $2,800. Well, we don't need it all at one time.
Save some discussion for the Parks and Rec meeting
Yeah.
and,
When is that? Because I'm confused, there's two different dates, or those two different dates.
Yeah, on that.
second Monday now, they just recently changed their night of the week. Or night of the month. The second Monday,
At 6.
yes,
We changed that from Christie, so it could be rechanged if the new board needs it.
Thank you.
okay, one other thing here, and I still don't see Christine on here, so we can't prove. Paying the bills yet, but, one of the things I know is not, been paid yet, and that is there was a fellow by the name of Charles Johnson in November who made some significant improvements in our trails and stuff out there at that Patriot Park. And he was told by Parks and Rec he would be, reimbursed $250 for fuel for his equipment while he was there. I would, and this would be coming out of Parks and Rec. So, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the $250 invoice for Charles Johnson for work performed at Patriot Park.
Last November.
Yes. So is there a second? Okay. Bob, how do you vote on that? Yes. Okay, Dave?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yeah.
And Jim, yes. All right, motion passes. Okay, I have,
Did we ever get the account set up for Patriot Park yet?
We need money,
got to ask Michelle about what?
we need money to do it, we can do it soon.
Well, we didn't before.
I mean, we can do it, but it doesn't do anything.
Well, and also, Jim, do you want to mention, Rotary Charity?
Yes, Dave and I have been in contact with and communicated with Rotary Charities for the last couple of months. I got a grant application submitted and we were approved in June for, it was a $10,000 seed grant that I applied for, and this is specifically for Patriot Park. And we were approved for $7,740. Part of what I requested that $10,000 for was for some legal work to terminate the lease that was signed back in 1996 on the park up there. And so they lowered the grant about $2,500 and provided a pro bono lawyer who was a property lawyer, land lawyer. And, I've already got the individual's name and the law firm, and we're in communication, so. We're gonna get that lease broken out there, and Rotary Charities provided a legal path to do that. Yes, Dave.
I did speak to they had a coffee at Railroad Square in Kilpatrick State yesterday. And the executive director came on and he told me that he had been in contact with this water. And we discussed how simple it would be. So she's working with us with them.
I don't have his name here in front of me, but.
Yeah, but she on her own talked to the guy just recently and said that on their end, they've got the motions going for us. They're really great people, those Rotary charities. And they also said that we can use their logo in our communication.
Yes, yes.
So, it's a big thing, with, us expanding our endeavors.
Just while we're still here, on the subject, curious if anybody on the board thinks we should move ahead on those tree removals out of the triangle down there, or if that's something, you know, we wanna take a look at it first or something like that. Some of those things come down and remove all the.
I would like to say, my vision for parks and recs is not to expand anything new, do anything new. We need to bring the parks maintenance up to speed.
Mhm.
However, if they took the trees out at this time, be advised that I would advise Parks and Recs not to vote to do anything new down there, because we have too much maintenance to do to catch everything. But free tree removal.
That's why I'm
Be advised.
revisiting it a little bit.
You'd be an asset to the, homeowners and our vacationers that come up here to see something actually taking place, if they drive by there all the time. It's just a mess, they wouldn't mow it for a couple, 3 years, we mowed it, my household mowed it for a couple, 3 years.
Does anybody wanna make a motion that we move ahead to remove the trees for free? Not this time? Okay. All right. Anything else? Any questions for Parks and Rec? Oh, I know one other thing, and I'll just make this real quick. There's an organization called Wind Phone. And they set up phones that basically go to nowhere, but they're in unique and, you know, picturesque places. They hang them on trees and stuff. They want to install one in our park up there and, you know, I think for one, it's a pretty cool idea, so.
I have Charlie Cummings phone.
That's right. That's right.
And it's red uniform. The red phone, it was teased, it was to phone to the white house.
Also, in addition to that, we talked about, Josh Hill has a phone and we talked about making some really nice benches wherever the township would decide to put these. And so you would have a bench to sit on, nice rustic bench, heavy duty. And we thought that we would work with this gal and coordinate all that together as we plan out what they're actually gonna look like in our.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I guess that's it for Parks and Rec. We'll go on there,
I would like to thank you for the opportunity to serve their capacity, and I know Dave and I work well together.
Good.
And quite open
We're
with
coming.
each other. Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, thank you. I'll move on to maintenance, and we don't have a maintenance individual right at the moment. There's later on in the agenda, an item we need to address about hiring that person, but right now I'll give a quick maintenance report. Just work is being done just about everywhere. I would say we have a good start to a volunteer force that, you know, gets some things done, so I'm very grateful for that. And you know, when we get a new maintenance guy, I think he's gonna have some help with community members, and I think that'll work well. At least I'm hoping so. One thing to back up to Parks and Rec here for just a minute, and that is I wanted to extend my gratitude to Michael Span for stepping up and allowing himself to be put in the chair position. And, you know, he did it when other people weren't volunteering, so I appreciate his efforts. All right, move on to zoning administrator. You have my written report, just a couple of things to note for you folks, everybody. Had a couple of new complaints, not old complaints, I mean, been ongoing, I should say. Gillett specifically and Hans Circle. I got progress. Progress is good. So over at Gillett, I monitor very closely and they understand that they don't continue to maintain or make progress. Citations are our last option and that's where we're headed at that point. On Circle specifically, there's still, complaints from the neighbors. And specifically one about noise, the sheriff's department said they're not gonna go out and handle it. It's an ordinance violation. So that's upon me, but I have to be kind of a witness to this and get several people to make statements or videos to get involved, the prosecutor get involved anyways. Every time I go over there, I've never physically talked to anybody through the door. But when I go knock on the door the next day, look at the progress. They kind of know why I'm with them. Like those two are heavily monitored right now. Let's stay at that stage where several opportunities to make changes and it doesn't continue. Like I said, probably next board meeting, you'll be hearing from me specifically about those two. Let the public know. Been spending a little time out at the cemetery trimming and mowing and that, and a couple people driving through there. Who live in that general area have expressed to me that they're joining together some of the residents in that area and they're considering a lawsuit against that property owner. So they're kind of taking matters into their own hands there, so.
There's a lot of music, is that? You know,
I was hoping to see.
the loud music that they're always playing there, or no?
Not what talking, which one?
Over.
Part of this is the loud music, the others don't. There's contention there on who actually owns it. Again, we currently have no additional police patrol. Not saying that that would fix it or anything, but when we call, they're supposed to come. They're telling us that it's an ordinance issue. Disturbing the peace to me, it sounds like a. Well, that's an MCL, that's not an ordinance. Yes. Michigan file laws. Yes. Story. Anything else on zoning? Oh, I think that's it. Good. Any questions for the zoning minister before we move on? I just will note that you're seeing the land use permits going up considerably in May. I expect to see them a little bit more when this time of year people are building.
They expect like the increase mostly goes in homes, construction.
Yeah. There's a lot of our many so pretty popular. Okay, nobody has any questions for John, we'll move on. I don't believe there was a public safety meeting held this past. That's correct. We have our road committee chair here, Andrew. Just anything there?
We see Rapid City Road, hardship and looks like they finished wrapping up the fogging today. They will be painting the lines next week. That includes the crosswalk and school lines, if I remember.
That's Gator lines, Andrew?
That,
Yes. Okay.
yeah, yes, it goes from 4 lanes to 3 lanes, and, we did order, beginning of the week, all the signs that are gonna be on the street.
Did I see some new no parking signs going up already? I did.
Yeah, we added the sign that's been run over several by the old gas station,
Okay, yeah.
so that will back up if that's the new one you probably saw.
And that's when they do the paint on the crosswalk. In others, in bigger cities, I have noticed that the two outside ones are the right line green, and then the inside is white. I don't know if they're gonna change.
No, I don't know what the engineering is. It's actually, that crosswalk was brought up from the school back in the day, they actually own that. That's
They won't want them.
the crosswalk. School paid for it. Back in the day. Do you know any of that?
No, I don't, unfortunately, no.
We'll see going back, there was ones that are the outside.
That might be a concern, the color of the cross. Who knows, but maybe now's the time to take it.
Right. We're in a meeting here.
But anyway, Orange River Bridge, it looks like they put some asphalt on it today, so hopefully they can open that up here soon. The Crystal Beach, the air patches will continue all the way through. They pushed back the paving until August, so it will be getting paved, but it's gonna do that. If anyone drove Zimmerman, it's got one layer of paving down.
Yep.
The top of the hill's been cut down quite a bit, so. There's a lot of progress on that. It looks like they were putting gravel down driveways and, along the edge of the raised curve and everything like that the other day. Going pretty quick.
I'm also told that Underhill paving was completed today.
Well, they had back the first pavement truck in for it.
Yeah, so it might not be done, but they're in the
Probably
process.
gonna be close, only a couple 100 yards.
That's nice.
Coils, they have one layer down on that as well. The one culvert got replaced before that, so, other than that, that's it.
Good job. It's a lot.
Sherry? Oops. Question for the chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Three of was reported to me in the committee that Manley Road's taking a hit from the trucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
John Rogers is aware of that, they've been putting gravel in where they've been touring that up. I did see the asphalt's been from them turning, but that has been addressed.
I see at the bottom of Zimmerman on Rapid City Road too, it's got a little tore up there from trucks.
Do you have something, sir? I did, if I could inquire about the road work, along Crystal Beach Road or any road possibly. There's currently a lot of extra chip stone along the side of the roads and in some places as much as 1 inch to 2 inches. Is that going to be, do they come back at the end and clean that up, or is that for the owners to just kind of get picked up and discarded? Does anybody know?
So before the paving gets done, they'll send brooms down there.
They will?
They will broom it off to the shoulder. And I'm not sure if they're gonna be cutting everyone's driveway, so you have a paved driveway, you have concrete, where we got brick, all that stuff's gonna be cut before the paving even gets started. So I don't know if they're gonna push back the dot as well. Because they're gonna put gravel along the edge of the road once it's done, so, cause it's gonna be raised, cause we're not doing a whole reconstruction, so it's gonna raise the level. So you've gotta bring the level of gravel up to that, so. I don't know if they're gonna cut that back, Elmer's is doing the whole project, so we're not doing that. But that's the process that's gonna be done, yeah, after our stone's gonna be pushed off the road, edge of the road.
So. Addressing the chair, I guess, I don't know. So the stone is going to be pushed into the yards,
Into the right of way, yes.
into the right of way.
Yep.
So it will go into the lawns.
Well, technically, by the end of the road, it's supposed to be gravel, not supposed to be grass. So, it will be in the gravel portion of the cut.
Okay.
After winter, it'll be here.
The asphalt surface grade efficient thing that's going to happen to be.
No.
That same season,
No,
what kind of surfaces they
just regular asphalt. This was part of it. This was the protecting coat to hold the asphalt that's currently there. That's getting a whole new paving.
And I apologize, so that when they redo the road, it will be higher and will it be wider?
No,
No,
Stay the same width.
same with just a couple inches higher.
Yes, correct, 2 inches.
Thank you.
Okay. Any last questions for road committee chair?
Well, I had a question. As I was reading this, number 13, new business A, Dundas Road, property available for use in road repair was discussed. Well, can you elaborate some on that?
There, yes, I can. I think what they're doing there is, they're buying a piece of private property because there's an area of Dundas Road that, like every 4 to 6 years, when there's a significant amount of snow, they lose a large portion of Dundas Road. So they're gonna buy this piece of property, it's a little triangle piece of property out there, and it would be a drainage ditch for the water that runs down the hill where this washed out occurs every year.
So up further on down.
Yeah, it's up farther into Dundas.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. This is a dirt road. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, it's
not-
seasonal,
yeah.
that part of it.
Okay, move on to supervisor correspondence. First Lake Protection Alliance had an event, over at Lake Township Hall. And they invited the 6 township supervisors to sit in a panel and take questions and talk about issues that are unique to Torch Lake. Shoreline areas. 5 of the 6 supervisors showed up. There was probably 60 people there and lasted a couple hours. It was a very good discussion. Looks like there's support for maybe some basic minimum standards for adopting, like for setbacks and septics and things like that. We all have, you know, individual ordinances for each township. And there's consideration to maybe come up with some minimum standards that all of the townships can adopt and just say, okay, we're, you know, at this point where, you know, if these people are 20 feet from the shoreline and these people are 50 feet or whatever, that there's a consensus that there is a good space or a good area to adapt for all
That makes sense.
homeowners on the lake. Yeah, just some minimum standards. You know, there's septics involved and things like that, so it was a good discussion. I'm glad I went, learned considerable amount about water riparian rights and all kinds of different things.
Motion.
Very quickly, yes, sir.
Was there any discussion about swimmer's edge and how to attack that jointly among the 6?
There wasn't specifically about that, but that would be one of the items that they were kind of, you know, problems that are unique to everybody was what they were identifying. And solutions, not just problems, but solutions too. Mhm.
Was there any topic about Helena Township trying to get expansion in their boats for 125 feet? Right now it stands at 4. They want to put it up to 8 boats for 125 feet.
That was again, one of the things, you know, people, Houghton Lake, for example, was used and they have extremely long docks and they let, you know, 10, 12 boats hook up to their docks, but they all funnel into one place and they're all kind of using a great portion of the lake for their docks. You know, there was some suggestions that we should limit the length of a dock into Torch Lake, you know, that kind of a rule system or something is what they were hoping for. So I'm sure you'll hear some of it as it progresses. They're working on drawing up some of those things and. Okay, I got about 5 or 6 maintenance resumes. I'm curious if the board wants to state or, schedule a day for possibly interviewing some of these people. We had mentioned that we, in our ad states that we're looking for part-time people. I'm still in favor of that. I think we can, have a part-time maintenance person, and again, I see a increase in volunteerism and people, you know, working on their own, so. We're just open, anybody has any ideas on how we wanna move forward, if we're ready to schedule interviews, or if we wanna post it again, see if we can get some more, or how we wanna move forward.
This resumes, I mean, I guess we should just go ahead and interview those individuals and see if, you know, if their skill set. If our needs.
Yeah, I would be one, I would be open to creating a day when we would start getting some interviews, hopefully we can get them all in one day. Anybody got a calendar handy, they wanna throw a date out there? I'm assuming we're gonna still try to do this in June, or do you wanna? After the 4th probably would be the next option.
Yeah, I would suggest after the 4th of July.
Good. See calendar. All right, you wanna do it on a Thursday night or Saturday? Not Saturday in July. Good. So what about, the thing is with someone coming for an interview, you know, if we start doing that at 7 o'clock at night, that's. It's the old talk there, Alright, so, how do you want? Thursday would be the 10th of July. I don't think there's anything other scheduled, any meeting wise, but I can look at the work. Does anybody have any problems with that day before I go look and see if it's open? Calendar.
The time, what time?
That's negotiable in my book.
You're saying 7 p.m.?
Yeah, well, that's our normal time to meet, and I can adjust it. If we
Well, any time after 5:30.
After 5. Trying to get to the
If
Clearwater.
we do
calendar.
set, we do
Make sure
7
it's open.
p.m., are we looking at, 10 minutes per person, and there's 6, would be about.
What's the earliest you can do?
I think we should plan for 15 minutes per person.
Okay, so that will put us at a couple of hours, so
Yeah, cause I can do,
I can do 6 or 7.
yeah.
I just have to have it.
Do you wanna schedule it for 6 o'clock? Let me look on the calendar here, just make sure July 10th. Okay, so there's senior cards during the day. And then it looks like,
That's scary.
Heritage Festival meeting in here that night.
Christine said she's trying to get on, but her computer decided to update.
Yeah, she texted me a minute ago too, so thank you. So there is something in here from 6:30 to 8:30 on July 10th. Ninth would be a Wednesday.
Did you adhere in the, hall, or do you want to do it on the stage, or here in Loveland Schoolhouse, or,
Well,
stage,
yeah, we
in
could
the
set it up
township hall?
over there, just post it over there, yeah. Yeah, if that's agreeable, everybody, we can have a meeting over there.
Yeah.
Alright, let's do 10, July
6
10th, you wanna do it 6 p.m. instead of 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, I'll make a motion that we, now contact all the people that I have. And, you know, they may or may not have that's available, so we might have to have a backup day, but I'll at least give it an attempt here and see how many we can knock out. All right, I'll make a motion that we set our first interview day for July 10th at 6 p.m. at the Township Gymnasium. Is there a second?
I second that.
Dave, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Bob? Yes. Michelle?
Yeah,
And Jim is yes, that motion carries. All right, great. I don't think I have any more correspondence here, just to make sure.
you have a
What?
question.
Andrew?
Just let you know that's our first Thursday night, so we won't have a meeting here, we'll have a band right next to the gym, just let you know.
On July 10th, that's right.
Our first night.
That's right.
Well, we can be up in this meeting, right?
Yeah, I mean, they'll be outside,
Yeah,
so yeah, we can.
keep it quiet. No,
I'm just saying that you got this available, we don't have our meeting that night.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me amend my thing then, and well, instead of having it at the gym, we'll have it here. Okay, so Little Red Schoolhouse. Just to reconfirm, everybody's in favor of that? Okay, good. Great. All right, well, then, I think it's time for some old business. Just knock these out real quick. Did you want, and this is board discussion, did you think we need to repost, or do you wanna wait till after these initial interviews first before we do that?
I waited till the
Okay,
initial.
okay, that makes sense to wait for a little while before we try these first 5 or 6, and then, yeah, see if we need more. Okay.
Could you provide us all with the
Yes, I will do that. I'll give them all a copy tomorrow in your, inbox, or would you rather I email them all to everybody?
It might be about 6 months.
Inbox? Inbox, okay?
Christian,
I'm sorry?
Christian.
Okay, yeah, Christine, great. Okay, well then, finish up here with old business and then we'll do the quick report. Okay, B there in old business, we've already kind of talked about that and, voted to move at $76,000, so we're good there. It is the end of the quarter in 11 days, and I'm curious to know if we have any budget amendments and other than the maintenance money, $1,500 that we moved to Parks and Rec, is there any other amendments that we want to move money around in our budget?
Well, our deputy supervisor has we established, I don't recall establishing an hourly wage or anything in the budget for her. So I think we need to do that.
Yes, right now, he's just paid out of the supervisor's control account. And I don't have the amount of hours that he worked right here in front of me, so I don't know what we're already responsible there for, but
I think it's on, Christine's report, she's broken down payroll.
okay.
Second page, I think, will
On there.
The second page of the check. Check detail.
yeah, second page.
So, I remember we set a budget for your salary, then you reduced it by 2,000. So how much of that 2,000 has been used for that, the whole of that, so far?
Probably not half of that, I would think.
Do we need to establish a hourly wage for anything that may exceed that?
May exceed what?
Well, if you,
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
yeah, because right now we have employees
Mhm.
that have wages established, but his have not been established.
Well, he's receiving deputy pay, like, I think they're all $25 an hour, $23 an hour right now.
Okay, but we never officially voted on that. We did for the other employees. So are you saying, you're just assuming that's his wage, or don't we need to vote on it?
I think we appointed, we established that, I think, on the night that I appointed him, deputy. Pretty sure we did.
It was all the same night.
Well, okay, I know
Discussion
discussion for you and for deputy clerk, but I don't recall it for.
He's in there, cause that was the same night that he had him assigned that, and then they did all that, and included him. Yeah, it was all the same night.
I believe we did. But I will say though, you are correct that we need to probably move, like we did with Tim there. Some of funds for maintenance, because obviously he's performing maintenance duties that I'm asking him to do, so. I think. We're looking at.
Supervisor's budget, annual budget, is that, do you know?
It's like 22 or something like that. There's still enough money in there to cover that. But we probably, need to backfill it a little bit to.
Amendment.
Yeah, I was just looking for this isn't really a budget, but, so it's not gonna list any kind of maintenance or anything, but.
Improvements.
Yes.
The only thing I would,
Vote if he fills in for maintenance until you find one.
well, I'm just assigning him duties. That's what I do for the deputy supervisor.
You know, but we're saying it's being the deputy when he's doing this, to be assigned him. Or vote to put him in there until you hire somebody, because that stuff needs to be done. But he would just be an employee at that point doing maintenance.
And then you would be
Yeah, but-
paying them for maintenance,
not
budget,
really
not
doing-
supervisor budget.
He's not really doing all the maintenance. He's, just doing what more or less I asked him to do.
You doing more maintenance than deputy supervisor stuff? Wow.
Well, right now, deputy supervisor stuff is I'm assigning him maintenance task.
I'm just saying, it shouldn't be, it should be, should he fill into that position instead of doing it, because that's not the supervisor.
He's not a maintenance person, though.
Why
He's a
not?
deputy supervisor.
Why no, but when it's like, you have a cemetery person, why you put it into it now, but I'm just saying. I'm the deputy treasurer, but now I'm doing cemetery and I split those. Should we, until you hire somebody, should you not vote him in?
Well, we could just allocate the hours that he works in maintenance and pay it out of straight out of maintenance, if that's what you're calling. We could.
Yeah, but I just thought it would be more official at first, and then you would have to come and get it every. Whatever.
I see what you're saying. Well, let's have the board, talk about that for a minute. Is that, you think the right way to do it, or do you want to
I
just
think that it's probably the right way to do it.
make him an actual maintenance person, and then he will have some duties that I assign him outside of maintenance that will come out of
I think so.
supervisor control, and then the other maintenance tasks will be.
We would either have to do that or go back and amend the supervisors, but. So, and I think the easier option is to, when he's doing maintenance, to pay him on maintenance,
Okay.
till we have maintenance and vote.
Okay, I would make that motion. I'll make the motion that we, in the performance of maintenance duties, Andrew Albert will be paid out of the maintenance salary fund.
And the same wage, $23 an hour.
Yes, I think, yep.
Should you limit that, to who does he get his direction from?
Well, that's why I say he's the deputy
But I mean,
supervisor.
as a maintenance person, I just.
Yeah, I would say you
You
can
know,
still get direction, from me. I would.
Yeah, let people come to you, and then you.
Yeah, we talk once in a while, and share what needs to be done, yeah. Yeah, yeah, so. All right, well then, I will make a motion that we, start paying Andrew for his maintenance duties performed out of maintenance salary fund.
And I would second that.
Okay,
Under the direction of the supervisor.
yes,
And the direction.
Salary, maybe it's hourly.
Yeah,
yes, it is. He always does a timesheet hourly on whatever he's doing, so whether it's my work or his.
So it's those 23.
One thing. Okay, gonna call this motion to pay and do maintenance rate. Okay, is there a second on that?
I seconded.
All right, and, how do you go about?
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
and Jim is yes, that motion carries, passes. Okay, anything I'm forgetting there? I keep reading, page. Okay, we got the. Okay, so. We don't really need a budget amendment then, that's where we got off track a little and we're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, we'd have to look at it, the following quarter, to see if that works out.
Mhm. All right, so I'm gonna let that one go right now, not gonna make any mention to the budget. All right, hospital 501c3 conversion. Okay, we have, another little snafu in the 501c3 conversion. They've been working on this now for a couple years, almost two full years. And they have just discovered that townships cannot be incorporators. This is Lara, when they put their application in to do it, Lara kicked their application back, so now they're having to kind of revamp everything. And what they've decided is that the township, instead of being township being incorporator, that they can appoint someone to be the incorporator for the township, which puts the individual in the spot as the incorporator rather than the township. So they also have a law firm who is collectively representing the actual township entities for the purposes of what the incorporators perform, the duties that the incorporators perform. It's literally a jumbled kind of organization. I'm not sure that I fully support it, but at this point, we need someone to be appointed, and we previously passed the resolution appointing me to be the incorporator as the CFO for the township. And I would be willing to do that again. They have prepared a resolution for us to approve. Basically, it's appointing, we need to appoint someone to be the representative incorporator. I could read this here, it's literally a page and a half, and you guys would, yeah. Okay, President, I'm gonna go ahead and fill some of this in here. Members present, costs under next. Okay, real quickly, I would just, and gotta kind of listen as I'm going here, because we'll decide on whether or not to pass this at the end. It's more or less an exact duplicate of what we did earlier, only it doesn't mention the township as being incorporated, it mentions the township representative as the incorporator. So it's just a quick little play on words to allow an individual to step in for an entity like the township. Okay. Resolution approving Clearwater Township's appointment of representative and incorporator of nonprofit hospital corporation, Clearwater Township, County of Kalkaska, State of Michigan. Minutes of a meeting of the Board of Clearwater Township, County of Kalkaska, State of Michigan, held June 19th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Present members Cost, Underhill, Lefeville, and Jackson. Absent Johnson. Following preamble and resolution were offered by member. I will make myself be the individual who is proposing this. And we will see if there's support at the end. Whereas Clearwater Township, the governmental unit, is currently a participating member of the Kalkaska County Hospital Authority, formed pursuant to Act 47, Public Acts, Michigan 1945, as amended Act 47. Whereas the authority currently operates the Kalkaska Memorial Health Center, the hospital, including a skilled nursing facility, swing bed unit, and rural health clinic, and together with all related assets used in the operation and management thereof, they call themselves the health facilities. Whereas pursuant to the requirements of Section 9 of Act 47, the authority previously approved a resolution authorizing the transfer of all assets and liabilities associated with the assets of the health facilities to a Michigan nonprofit corporation specifically created for the future ownership and operation of the health facilities. This was done in a county vote, not last November. Whereas following the authority's approval of the transfer was approved by a majority of the qualified electors of the authority during the general election held in Kalkaska on Tuesday, November 5th of 2024. Whereas the governmental unit now desires to appoint Jim Lefeville as its representative to serve as member of the corporation to undertake such actions as are required of a member pursuant to the corporation's governing documents. Whereas the governmental unit further desires for the representative to appoint a representative of the governmental unit to the initial board of trustees of the corporation, and whereas the governmental unit also desires to authorize the law firm of Hall, Render, Killian, Heath, and Lyman through one or more of Hall Render's employees to serve as the incorporator of the corporation. Now therefore be it resolved that the governmental unit appoints the representative to serve as member of the corporation and authorizes the representative to undertake such actions as are required of a member pursuant to the corporation's governing documents. The governmental unit hereby authorizes the representative to appoint Greg Bradley was our previous appointee, and he'll I've talked to him, he's willing to serve again as a trustee. Okay, to appoint Greg Bradley to the initial board of trustees pursuant to the corporation's governing documents. The governmental unit authorizes Hall Render, which is the law firm, to serve as the incorporator of the corporation and to undertake any and all actions where are necessary to effectuate the corporation's formation with the state of Michigan. And any and all actions previously taken by an authorized agent of the governmental unit in furtherance of the above are hereby ratified and approved. All resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution are hereby repealed. So that's a lot of words. What it does is it appoints me as the incorporator, and then the incorporator will be served by that law firm, and they will carry out the business of incorporators. And then Greg Bradley would be the appointee to the board of trustees to the hospital, which he currently is now for Clearwater Township anyway. So, having made that motion to approve this resolution, is there any support?
You second the motion.
Okay, well, having been motioned and seconded, How would you vote, Bob?
Yeah.
Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
And Jim Ryan, yes. This resolution is declared adopted. All right, moving on. So. Just a little side note on the hospital before I move on here. Because of this delay, they did not. They will not meet their requirement to be a 501(c)(3) before the next round of taxes will be collected. So we're going to have to pay another 1.6 mils to the hospital, for which we will get reimbursed for. We're actually getting reimbursed for the last 5 years. I estimate it to be about $1.2 million.
You're sure they confirmed it? Of guarantee,
Yes.
really?
Yes, they're mandated by law that Article 47 thing to reimburse us. So anyway, we're gonna have to pay it, and then we're gonna get it back, not individually, but they're gonna reimburse the township all the money that was collected. And then we will have to come up with some type of referendum or plan to spend that money. This is money that was, paid into taxes, so we have to collectively as a township determine how we wanna spend that money. I can't just go spend it, or we can't just spend it any way we want.
Can you put it in a bank account?
Yeah, we can do
Do what you want with it?
we can do what we want with it. Initially, we were told, oh, you can only spend it on healthcare stuff. Well, we found out that the hospital was lying about that, so. But we do have to vote on what we wanna spend it on. So like if we decide, oh, we wanna pave Rapid City Road with gold nuggets, okay? We could do that, all right? But we will still at some point have to determine how we wanna spend it, so.
Before you get it,
No, we can,
they're gonna give it back to you,
they're gonna give it back.
and as a township, you decide what you're gonna do with it.
That is correct.
Based on the
Could it
taxpayers.
be a general fund, is what I'm saying? Or do you have to have a predetermined plan for all 1 million?
It can be a meeting.
When would this be expected to arrive?
Sarah.
Well, it could have, when the 501(c)(3) transfer takes place, that's when they're mandated to return the monies to us. Now, they wanna negotiate how they return it, they wanna make payments, 10% a year, blah, blah, blah. But in the law, it says they have to return it to us. It doesn't say how they have to, but it says they have to return it to us. Like I said, they wanna negotiate, we have collectively all 10 townships in the village of Kalkaska, we have a lawyer to negotiate for all 10 townships to return all the money. So, we'll see where that goes.
Determines what to do with money based on what
We-
the community.
We will have to have a vote township wide, from my understanding,
Okay.
to determine how we wanna spend that money.
Yeah.
Oh, I see some hands here. Okay, go ahead, quickly.
So can I suggest, I'll pass the thing real quick, to invest that money in Michigan class and just, keep the interest?
Yeah, it would be about $60,000 a year, just free money. But that's for another day, we'll figure that out. Okay, BSNA conversion, we have the training dates and we have, additional training dates for Christine. And, I'm gonna have to talk to them and see if, like, let's say somebody misses one of the classes from the initial training, can they jump in on that other second class that's coming, or how that's gonna work, but I did sign the contract, we approved the additional training, we didn't approve it, the actual dollar amount. The actual dollar amount for the additional training was $3,000. Which I'm not real happy about, but it's what it is. We have to know how to use the software, so. Okay, risk assessment. I have not had a chance to boil all that information down. I have a stack of stuff to go through where we're lacking, different, all of our contractors, we don't have liability waivers for, all these companies that work for us and we have contracts, I don't have copies of their insurance, riders and that, and they're working for us, they all have to have their own insurance and they have to list us as additional insured people, and it's a lot to go through, and I'm not through it all yet, so I'm gonna have to push that one on.
You have a helper.
Have to push that over to July's meeting. I'm gonna try, I will email all of you the packet that the insurance guy sent me, so you can kind of see what I'm dealing with. Basically, it's just a checkoff list and we fail in a lot of areas, so we've got a lot of work to do. Okay, I have reached the end of the old business here. Anybody have anything else we want to mention before we move on to Christine and the clerk report? All right, before we attack the new business then, Christine, are you there?
Yes. I'm here.
We'll move back up to line 10 and listen to the clerk's report.
The clerk was able to meet with the deputy treasurer and we reconciled accounts and we do balance. So that is good. All of our funds balance. I did provide you with a check detail report. I found this report and it seems to be far more informational and accurate for expenses. And so I'm switching to this report instead of just the transaction report. I don't know, did you already talk about the checks that need approval or no?
One of them. Check number. It was the one for paying the $250 fuel reimbursement.
Oh, okay. For Charles Johnston.
Yes.
Okay. And then the farrier surveying.
Yes. Technically, that comes out of Parks and Rec.
Yes.
Um,
Both of those would be Parks and Rec.
mhm. And I mentioned at our last meeting, probably incorrectly, that our Rotary grant for the $7,740 that we received would be reimbursing us for the farrier survey. But in the documents that I received with the grant paperwork, it says that we can't use the money for services that have already taken place.
Oh.
What we're gonna have to find another place to pay that $1,500 out of.
It's gonna have to come from Parks and Rec budget.
Which at this point really doesn't exist, if I'm correct. I know it says there's $22,000 in there, but that's their entire budget for the year, or what?
Remaining.
So where do we want to pay that $1,500 out of then? Technically, it could have been included in the budget. I know there was odd things in there, and very well may have been one of them. Either way, we gotta pay it. Service that's already been performed and was drastically needed. Because, we need to know where that boundary is. We're just walking around out in the woods creating trails, we need to know where we're at. So I think we should at least at this point, because it's hanging over us, we should pay it out of that $22,000 Parks and Rec budget and then, figure out, you know, where, or if we need to backfill it, or if that 22,000 didn't include that in their budget for 1,500. So I'll make a motion that we pay that out of the Parks and Rec existing fund.
That's okay.
So, Jim. All right, on the motion to pay, Farrier Surveying, $1,500 for the Patriot Park out of Parks and Rec existing budget, how do you vote, Bob?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
And Jim is yes. That motion carries. Okay,
Next would be from the general fund, check number 27893 to GFL Environmental for the $19,672.50 for the township cleanup day.
I think that is not a record, but it's certainly, it's enough. All right, I'll make
I
a motion.
don't remember what we set aside as far as the budget for that.
Well, I think 2 years ago it was 16. So. That, I don't remember what it exactly was, but I'll make the motion that we pay $19,672.50 to GFL for the township cleanup day trucks.
From the general fund.
Yes, from the general fund. Okay, that motion is seconded by Bob. How do you vote, Dave? Bob? Michelle?
Yeah.
And Jim is yes as well. That motion passes. Next one?
Check number 27898 to Michigan Township Association. That is for our membership dues.
Annual
Annual
membership.
renewal. Yep, $3,205.90.
I'll make a motion to pay $3,205.90 to Michigan Township Association for our annual membership. Second?
That's second.
All right, how do you vote, Bob? Yes. Jim, yes. Michelle? And Dave?
Yes.
Okay, municipal underwriters, next one, 27899, is that correct, Michelle, or Christine?
Yes.
And that is our insurance company for which?
That one was, gosh, I don't know if Margaret brought over the file for the checks for approval, but it was a part of the policy for health and safety or something like that. It was just an additional part of the policy.
Health and Welfare Fund? Or just?
I know it said something about health. It might have been health and safety, or maybe it was health and welfare. I'm not sure. I don't have it in front of me.
This is Tokyo Marine?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah. No, wait.
is that the last one? I think.
Hmm?
That is the last one.
I just wanted to make a note that on the MERS retirement, there were 2 payments made. The reason for that is because the March payment accidentally went to municipal underwriters instead of municipal employees retirement. So they sent that check back and I rewrote a check for March. So there's the March and the May payment.
All right,
Yeah.
the municipal underwriters, check 27899. I'll make the motion, we pay that. I would like to revisit it though, get a little clearer picture on exactly what, why they're splitting that payment out. Because generally, we just make one payment a year, correct?
Yeah.
I think it's always been one payment, but I can't swear to that. But I'll make a motion, we pay the check number 27899 to the municipal underwriters, $1,446. Is there a second? All right, how do you vote, Dave?
Let me ask you a question. You said that's Tokyo Marine?
Tokyo Marine is the name of our insurance.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I believe us.
Bob?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
And Jim is yes.
And all the rest are just normal post audit payments that need approved.
Okay. Before I let you go here, there was a little bit of confusion on invoices not being attached to checks. And I just want to make sure that Michelle and you understand what each other needs.
Yeah, I don't know what Michelle was looking for. The invoices don't go with the checks. The invoices go with the check stub into the post audit files. So I'm not sure what she was looking for.
Well, typically, in the past, you've attached the stubs to go with the checks. So if
Oh,
you're
gotcha.
suggesting that they do not go with the checks, and
The
these are
payment
approved,
stubs? Yeah.
I will make them, but there was only one attached to any of these checks.
Yeah, that's a question for Margaret. I wasn't there when she did that. Typically, I would pull the payment
Yes.
stubs and put it with the check. So if they're not there, then they are in the post audit file.
Okay, so I have the checks. Do you want me to mail them the way that they are without the stubs? Or do you want me to?
I think that would be fine because I do put the account numbers and invoice numbers on all the checks, so they will have that.
And then moving forward, we'll make sure that we have the stubs with the checks that have.
Yes. Thank you. We'll make sure that we get that done.
Thank you.
The only other thing for me is the May election, or not May, August election is in preparation. We have our ballots already. We'll be sending out absentee ballots soon. There are only 2 proposals on the ballot, but it will be a full day election as usual. There won't be any early voting, but it will be regular election for August. I think it's the 6th.
All right. Just one thing in, that L4029 statement that came from the county on our taxable value.
Oh, yes, that was prepared and is ready to be approved.
We periodically get our little update as to the value of our township. And I believe we went from 178 to 185, $185 million. is our taxable value. It's over $300 million for our total value for the township. That is our taxable value, so when we tax 1 mil, we're gonna get $185,000, 662.
Say that over again, please.
185,662.85
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's broken down on here,
Is that the sum of all the assessed values of the properties in the township?
that is correct. That is correct.
And we're having to pay the 1.6 to the hospital.
That is correct.
But we are going to be able to get that money back. We're paying
Yes.
it out, the money's coming back.
The last 5 years, yes.
Yes, plus this year. Correct, that we're.
Yeah, what'll happen is like 2020 will drop off and 2025 will add on.
Okay.
So it's the last 5 years of taxes that they collected for capital improvement only, which comes to that 1.6 million. But taxable value is $185 million in Clearwater Township. All right, new business. I wrote a couple things on here. Obviously, if there's anything else we want to discuss, we can put it on there. Policy schedule a policy workshop. I know we've got a lot of policies out there we'll to work on. An update and that kind of thing. I don't think we have time at a regular meeting to do that, so I think if we want to schedule a policy workshop, we can. You know, it doesn't have to be this month, but I think we should just put something out there on the radar so that we don't forget that, so we need to follow through on this policy. So any discussion on that?
Are we going to, when the next time we talk to the state, once we get our bids for the financial, were we going to, talk with them as far as, policy as well for the township? Because I would like to see, just because of the limited amount of time, I think we made a lot of progress and we voted a lot of moving forward ideas that I think are beneficial to the township. But to realize that, I'd like to also talk to the state of Michigan, to the Treasury Department about getting bids for having an outside organization, do that for us under the same size that the state would reimburse for that as well.
Also too, Jewel Moore, our former clerk, expressed that there's some CDs or discs in the hall over here with kind of language for developing certain policies and that it already exists. It's kind of a plug-in.
Yeah, for 2019, I think she said, my
Yeah,
computers don't even take this.
that was part of it, but yeah.
Yes, Steve.
We have, MTA has that, we have the blog, they have the, we have an updated version.
Yes,
I'll get it.
yeah.
And
Yeah, and I think there's DVDs in that book too that you have
I
this.
don't know if any of our computers for you.
I know.
Yeah, I do not.
So, again, we don't have to do that, but I don't wanna forget it and I don't wanna bury it. We got policy stuff we need to work on, but,
And we have a lot of good ideas that we
Yes.
have moved forward and we have
Yeah.
passed motions on. The goal is for it to be realized in writing.
yes, that's it right there. Get it on paper, improve it. Get it in a book somewhere and we'll just start,
Yeah.
policy book and then move forward that way. All right, well, is there any additional new business? I know you.
I'll Ricardo calling and switching over to see them instead of the Clearwater works that we currently have. Did on page 2.
I'll find those. Yeah, that one was in deep. Okay, so yeah, I see there's a little savings there.
Yeah, like John, the left column, if we continue as we are, $6 a month. With 12 months, that's $1,137.12. If we switch to McCullough Culligan, it would be $684.48, including 20 free gallons. In other words, 4 or 5 gallon jugs. And that would require a first year with rental agreement paid when you're in advance for the water cooler. I believe that's what that pertains to. So that would be a savings of $452.64. It's not much, but $1 a dollar, it's almost $500, and it's for a year. And also this benefits a resident of Clearwater Township who lives across the street from me.
Well, thanks for declaring that, but
Well,
that's good.
So I'd like to make a motion that we vote on this and replace Pure Water Works with McCullough Culligan.
I'm sorry, is there a current contract? Or is it on a monthly, weekly delivery basis?
I don't think we have an existing contract. We have like a scheduled delivery. It's automatic that they're doing it, but it's not on
You might check with this.
Now,
Just
let me
looking
ask,
back, we didn't have them.
let me ask you, Dave, okay, will we sign up for this 12-month thing on the water cooler, which is good? Does that mean we have a 1-year contract that we have to buy the water from them? I mean, I'm not saying that we wouldn't, I'm just saying, is that gonna be a 1-year contract?
Page one,
Kind of seems that, but it's,
look at page one, how they work
okay,
it.
12 months, okay.
It says when rental agreements are paid 1 year in advance. And it says cooler special, so I believe that only pertains to the cooler.
We only have one, this one we own.
Okay, well, there's, you only have, this is only replace that one.
Long term, I think we should connect to the water that exists over there and put a filter on it or some type of a treatment thing and stop paying for water altogether, long term.
They have a reverse osmosis system too.
Yeah, and Carl may be the ones to talk to me about that, you know, the filter system, maybe. Yeah, we'll probably use them here and the fire line.
The reverse osmosis is charcoal. Is what it is.
It seems like the delivery from Pure Water Works comes in like right before, like the week before our meetings.
It's Friday, yep, always Friday, tomorrow will be a delivery, I got 7 bottles a month right now coming, with the heat and everything.
I did the comparison on 6, I guess the invoices.
It'd just be more savings.
Well, yeah, because that's the invoices that were available at the time I did the analysis.
Sure.
So, if you're thinking reverse osmosis, is that something you want to do now instead of moving forward with this, or do we want to deal with this? Right,
It's charcoal, so it's not like you have to buy salt, they use charcoal in the reverse osmosis, so you're not buying salt every month and having to go through a month cycle like you would have.
so
like reverse osmosis.
Yeah,
back to page 2. At the top is the analysis without the discounts. After 1 year, the discounts, it would still be a $384 per year savings.
Which is about half the cost of a wall unit, like a refrigerated wall unit drinking fountain thing that we would, you know, hopefully at some point get, but yeah, if you were making a motion to switch to this, I would second it on the basis that we don't have a current contract to follow through with Pure Water Works.
Okay.
Which I don't think we do, but.
and I would ask your neighbor if he also, does the reverse osmosis, because that is also something that I think would be really good.
Okay.
because we don't have any contaminants or anything on there.
And once again, I understand
Rust.
the contract, the one-year contract to be for the $12 per month, hot and water, and hot and cold water cooler, so it's really not a major contract.
Right, we're paying 11 now.
Yeah.
Do we have hot over here now? No.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, yeah.
There's a red handle and blue handle.
We're up.
That's what, but the contract only for the food. Is that right?
Okay, so,
Contract is only for the cool,
I'm sorry,
it's only for the cooler,
then we pay for the bottles
you pay
individually.
for the bottled water.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't know about you.
So you wanna make that motion?
Yeah, I make a motion, we switch from Clearwater Works to the bottles. Okay.
Contingent on no contract with Clearwater.
This is not no contract with Clearwater Works, which I believe we do not have.
Okay. Okay, so I will second. Bob, how do you vote?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Jim is a yes, and Dave?
Yes.
That motion passes. Go.
Can you talk about the newsletter, because it has to be done in a week? It'll have to be added, you can't wait until next month.
When our next taxes go out will be December.
After this, yeah.
And does it have to be in paper with taxes or can it be on the website? Oh, I was just wondering.
Yeah, it would go out
And
as taxes and share the, stamps.
Instead of online.
Say $300 in postage. They're saying more than that now, but we pay a lot more in postage.
Why don't we do this? Dave, do you think you can come up with a couple paragraphs on what's happening in Parks and Rec? Or between you and Grace together?
Sure, Andrew can do the newsletter.
Or we have to get it to him? But,
And do we, who did we submit that to? Andrew, the supervisor?
Are you gonna do that? Are you already talking?
Andrew and I were working on this together, how's that sound?
When are we due? When does it due?
Yesterday.
Yeah. I would say, what's today, the 19th?
About by Monday, that'll give you the weekend.
Well, I think you go farther than that. It's not gonna take long to prove it once you got all the stuff in. You can go until next Thursday.
Okay, so Monday.
Okay, for you, it's Monday.
How many pages?
No,
That's
just.
good. How many pages is the document? No, Dan Brady, not Carl.
Two-sided.
Two-sided, one piece of paper, two-sided, we'll have.
Just curious how big to do.
I'll write a little paragraph.
You can submit a
Park
picture.
and Rec,
One picture.
I'll get planning commission.
We should have a paragraph in there about BSNA too, how our, people in our community
Okay,
taxpayers.
can you do that by
can
Monday?
access online.
Can you do that by Monday?
Of course.
Okay. I'll
Could
come
you
and
have
do
something
that by Monday.
Hospital? I think that'd be a good idea, the public know about the
Not a
hospital.
bad idea. I'll come up with something from supervisor and we'll. Do you wanna do something treasurer wise?
I would like it to be on BSNA because I think it's really important. We're investing so much money in BSNA.
Okay,
So I've gotten a lot of really good feedback when people ask about tax information and then I give them the BSNA website, set up your account. They do it, they love it, you know, so it's like.
can you do something on the cemetery, maybe a paragraph and just, maybe how I'll have new BSA information or.
All you have to say is people are sure.
Okay, good. All right, so we're all gonna chip in, one or two paragraphs for the newsletter by Monday. And we're gonna get it to Andrew.
Mine's be Thursday.
Well, we'll get it to Andrew by, late Monday and
He's got till Thursday.
couple of days. to
Zoning
work on.
probably put something in there about.
Yep, I'll give a zoning
Okay.
and, get him to do that too. I'd like that down.
I need to, and also desire to go through this last a couple of years of Parks and Recs. Financials. What their obligations are.
It's only been about 3 years that they even had any money allocated to them specifically, so that won't be hard to do.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and we need to know, you know, where it's going, where it's spent. What's coming up, what's allocated.
Yeah, what's committed from
There
that
was
$22,000?
For the budget.
Yeah.
Where's the budget? I can't.
Yeah, we gotta get back on track here. Okay, we were in new business and Dave has, I think, one more thing here he wants to talk about.
Yeah, we've had an advertisement out for, bids, replace bathroom. Only one bid has come in, I believe we ran out and the, up at the.
They were doing, yeah, we have one other company that was interested.
Yes, they're just waiting for the contracts to come through to see what we're tied up in with contracts, because some of the contracts, the payouts are more than what we would say on services. And there's some piggyback services and things like that, we're, so kind of like my understanding is that we're paying for premium services that we can do piggyback services that are not so expensive, but to be able to bid it out, he needs to know what contracts that we're tied up with.
Well, I wanted to get to that in a minute.
Yes.
And so this is just what came in for bids.
Mhm.
I believe the ad in the Alphabet's paper ended at the end of May.
Yeah, I think I was in there twice.
Oh, okay, and, we have it posted at the township website. So, by the regular meeting next month, I will have a detailed report on all the separate expiration dates. For spectrum, and we do have 2 accounts that we're being, I believe, double charged for, like, they're charging us at the fire department and at the home. Even though they covered on one of our other accounts, so I'll have more information on that by the next regular meeting.
You can keep on as a
We need to vote on
I mean, it's gonna be an expense. Yeah, we have to print it, so there's.
True. that. That's true.
And you're gonna pay something to do it.
Have no idea what that would cost. So I think.
No, Brian.
I think. I've already said
You
it's
can just print it on the copier.
Yeah, we could print it in our copy,
There's,
30 cents a copy or something like that for color copies,
yes.
it's how many parcels we have. that go out.
2,500. 2,518.
But but no, because no, we can't do that, because KCI sends it. So they print our stuff and they send it, everything goes out in their envelopes down for as it goes, so it's not, then you're just gonna send it separately. If it goes with our taxes, it needs to go to KCI and have them send it with the taxes. So they print it and fold it and give it.
That can cost money.
Well, it's gonna cost money, but it doesn't cost, yeah, I mean. It's the printing,
What do they charge per page? We can find out.
kind of that.
We're not gonna be meeting again before the. We said they go out in August.
No,
Or no, July.
July,
July 1st.
like 2 weeks.
That would be hard to get, because we won't be meeting again before that to approve the funds to do that.
Plus $1,000 if you can.
Okay, why don't we do that? We can approve up to $1,000.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make it 1,200. I mean, it's gonna be a cost. 1,000 might be what it costs.
I probably can tell you how much the taxes will cost, but that's not. You can carry on, I'll find it.
Why don't we do this, okay? While she's looking at it, we can finish this 186 network thing.
Oh, that's all I was saying, that's the only thing that came in.
I just want.
Still open the bid because we're still on the contract.
Mhm.
So even though we get whatever bids we can,
Mhm.
we have to, discuss getting out of the other, what I consider illegal contracts.
Mhm.
Yeah, that they have signed into, and they're all staged at different expiration dates.
And
the
they're
really-
premium services too.
Right.
They're premium services that we do not necessarily need. I think, in my opinion, they just pitched it. Oh, you need this and we could do.
Hook, line, and
this."
sinker.
Yes,
Down-
and they
down
just
backers
went
and
with
furrow.
it.
If you recall, the representative in Spectrum admitted that's the biggest commission he's seen, and he's been in business 15 years. He's never seen a commission like that paid to Stanley Government.
Mhm.
So,
One quick thing I just happened to notice on this, okay?
What was it paid to, if you don't mind me asking again, what was the name?
Stanley Government, who is now
Was the-
retired,
He was,
like a week ago after I talked to Ernest Green.
I see him all over the place, and so he was at the MTA conference, here this last April. Anyway, just weird coincidence I run into there. What I noticed on here, each one of these service costs for the internet fiber, okay, it lists 3 locations. And this gentleman that we talked to with, what was it? Elevate Net. He had a deal where, like the fire barn, which I noticed isn't mentioned on here, we don't have internet for the fire barn in here, but this guy from Elevate.net says he could put a little receiver down there on the fire barn, and he can put a receiver on this building and at Heritage Park. And we can have one internet source at the town hall here, and it'll transmit internet to all the other facilities that we have, so only one internet source.
Got it, 186.
well, I was going to suggest too, it could be another thing, because Elevate.net works with Spectrum. Do they cross over with any other internet providers? Do you know what I mean? Like, they work with Spectrum, so like now Centerra's doesn't work with the crossover with Spectrum, so we're paying to Centerra's and we're paying to Spectrum. So maybe Elevate.net might work with other providers as well. I know he just does the crossovers with Spectrum. So that might be another, option as well.
Yeah, something to think about, but I just wanted to point that out, that there is that capability of one internet, and we gotta get our internet somewhere, okay, but we can.
And the other thing that he pointed out too is that we're buying, routers and such continually, the way that we're set up on a contract with Spectrum, and we're not really getting the true lifespan. Out of one might last 10 years, and like we're changing them, like maybe every 3 or 4 years, we're getting the new one, almost like an iPhone, like it's obsolete by the time the next, you know what I mean?
We're
And you
also
buy
renting
to
their
new-
cameras, and the
Yes.
camera's like $40,
Yes.
but yet we rent them for like $5-10 or whatever it is a month.
Yes,
So like we're buying 3 cameras a year for the price that we're paying to rent.
yes, yes.
Stupid.
You're right, Jim, this, point out the, Heritage Park, or it does.
Yeah, it has heritage, but not the fire barn.
Right, but a previous bid that Scott's, or not bid, like quote, that Scott was having, it was like $800 for all the buildings that we currently pay Spectrum, like 3,500 for,
Ridiculous.
they guaranteed it'd be less than 1,000, and they would waive hookup fees and whatnot, and they did explain that the way fiber works, they can bounce it from one location to another, so it sounds kind of like what you were talking about. So this is really not it's not giving a final number on each bid, so when we come down to it, it will include fire department.
And I
One more
also-
thing about Spectrum is, we're being charged for a fax line. Oh, yeah. That we don't have. So we have an account.
I think we have it, but we don't use it. We don't have, we're using a fax machine, if I'm right, through the Kyocera printer. But we have a dedicated fax line through Spectrum that we don't use. I believe you're right.
Right. So, that fax line is something that we're being charged for, that through Ring Central, we only have, we only use. But the way it was.
Which I don't really like that system. Very good.
We'll straighten it out by the next meeting, I'll have more information.
I had one other thing too, and I think we kind of talked about it before, so even like Starlinks is available in our area, so if there is a power outage, does satellite, like Starlinks, we still would get internet?
We would still have internet when the generator kicks on over at Township Hall.
Okay,
And probably at the fire barn too. I think they have a generator over there too.
okay.
Oh.
So that's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the taxes going out, there are 2,478 estimated, that's what they're trying to say, and the postage, just let you know, the postage that we're being charged is $1,350. That's what you'll be saving by running a newsletter through this. And then to print the taxes, which they're two-sided and then color, but they're not like picture color.
Right.
It's $859 for the tax bill.
And they're just printing what we tell them to print, correct?
We send them a PDF, they print it, we proof it, then they.
So if they
They
send
fold
them
it.
2 PDFs, one was a newsletter,
Uh-huh.
they would print that too and send it out.
Yeah, that would probably be another, at least another $859.
And we were approving up to 1,000.
Like you're saving $1,500.
Why do you stand outsource for?
Our assessor does that, right? Isn't
What?
it KCI is our assessor
No,
company?
no, they're a printing company.
Okay.
They do just the taxes, they do a lot of
Why do we send them off for print?
because they print them and they fold them and they stamp them and they address them and they seal them and we're not doing that. And it's part of, I mean, we get an admin fee for doing that sort of thing through the taxes, we get paid the admin fee, so.
It's
We
more
don't have any
cost,
power to do that.
we don't have the manpower.
We're also collecting monies for Arkansas County and we get reimbursed a little money from that too, is that correct? Maybe not on this, maybe.
We don't have that, the admin.
Yeah, we collect a percentage of the taxes that come in, we get a percentage. And it's called an admin fee, and it comes to the general fund. And that general fund pays the KCI, it pays whatever. Tries to doing the taxes, you know, yeah, like we get reimbursed for taxes.
Have we established that, admin fee yet for the fire department? Are we
We
charging?
did.
Thought we did, I thought we already.
I don't know,
gave
if
it
that's,
the
they
money.
probably get that much of interest.
Who's in charge of billing them over there? I mean, how do
Billing
they-
them?
Well, collecting that money.
Well,
I think it was
It'll
the
be us.
$5,200 was transferred from the fire fund to general fund for their admin fee.
yeah,
I'm just curious if it had been done, I know that's. what we
Yes, it
talked
has
about.
been, and it was also done with Parks and Rec, and I don't know if it was done with roads, I think it was done with all. I'm sorry, go ahead.
are we doing public comment?
Oh, well, very quickly, I don't see any need for a closed session, but I'll ask the rest of the boards here if they're interested in that. Well, any reason to go into a closed session? Okay. So then closing board member comments, then we'll get to public comment after that. Any closing comments anybody has want to share?
No.
Uh-huh. Okay, well then I guess it's public comment.
Okay, so, referring to the hospital, as of right now, or it has been, current taxpayers, which they've never been aware of, a lot of people didn't know, could use their taxes that they pay towards the hospital, they can use it towards their bill, if they have a hospital bill. Does that end? Is that ending now? Cause I.
When the 501c3 transfer takes place, that will end.
Do we know when that may be? Cause I have people asking for their receipts, so I'm gonna have to have an answer.
Currently, they can get reimbursed for it.
Yep, until that change, until
For
the
the tax.
501c3 conversion, it's the same way it's always been.
Okay. We discussed the playground and the way it's in shambles and how it was set up. And it was mentioned that you were gonna go back to the company and try to figure out how they're responsible for it. And I can tell you right now, they're gonna come back and say that they're not. I have a copy of the thing that says installation shall be certified game time installer, customer shall be responsible for scheduling, coordination, and site preparation. Site should be level and permanent installation equipment access. It's all in here, and then the next one actually says that, the next one, just to let you know. Exclusions, unless specifically included, this quotation excludes all site work and landscaping, removal of existing equipment, acceptance of equipment, and offloading storage of goods prior to installation, so I think it was Parks' responsibility to have that prepped and ready to go. Just to give you a little more.
And we should never get an answer from them. I asked countless.
Anyway,
To be
so,
productive, we can't go back yesterday.
Well, I'm just saying, but to be productive, we cannot keep going back to what happened yesterday.
so basically, I'm just suggesting that, if we have a budget for the Parks and Rec, they need to at least present it, because I haven't seen it, I don't, it's deputy treasurer, but either way, I think, whatever's left in their funds should cover, fixing that and making it useful. At this point, it should come out of the parks, because they made that decision and it's where it's at right now. So they need to prioritize their funds to cover that and fix that. Also, the board, as I've taken notes, now comment is their public comment, I just want to reiterate that it is actually supposed to be public comment where we constantly make comments. I know that, I raised my hand a couple times as deputy treasurer, but however, we really need to get that under control because sometimes stuff just goes on and on back and forth and it just, we don't need to get out of here.
We always have room for improvement.
Right, I know, you did well. So, and then the last thing is, how is the sheriff's staff gonna be, actually, there's two things, how is the sheriff's staff gonna be handled? If they're not coming in, are we going to approach them with that? Are we, going to, argue with them about that? I mean, because we're just we can't just accept it because money goes towards that. And it should be handled, they should be, so I don't know if we're figuring out a way to move forward with that one.
And just real briefly, I go to the Board of Commissioner meetings and I express often that we're not getting any support from the sheriff's department.
It's gotta be a legal way to handle that, where the money that we put towards the sheriff's department, they should be earning that somehow. Also, lastly, the BSNA training, that 3 days that we paid, I was reminded that we actually had an extra 3 days that we didn't
We did.
schedule.
That we didn't schedule, we had an extra 3 days that didn't cost us anything, that was included that we didn't.
So we didn't bring this,
Okay.
So that needs to be on radar somehow, we might be able to get that $3,000 back.
Didn't I appoint you the BSA? If Leah's
No,
that person?
That I thought, right.
I think you're the one that needs to know
Within our
this.
board meeting that it
You
came
found
up,
out, right?
I wanna say like 3 meetings ago when it came up that the clerk was going on vacation.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, how much would it cost? And then we found that we had 3 extra days that were included in our training that we
We can talk to
didn't use.
Yeah.
So that should not cost us anything. Now, as far as like room, board, rental car, those kind of things. I don't know, maybe they ought to say where they are and teach us online. On Teams or something.
Grace.
I would like to address the whole board to say, thank you for listening to us, it probably put you guys here, what, an hour longer? And sometimes I know people who ramble on and you can just kind of shut us off or whatever. But I do appreciate that you all listen to the input. It doesn't have to be that.
Sometimes we get off on tangents. Yes. There's value in,
Discord.
feedback, so.
There's value in maybe you guys listening to their feedback.
True.
And let you guys know that it's appreciated.
Good, thank you. Joanne?
I talked to Scott Manley about the shirt, because I've been having, I put it out there, how much money does the state pay the sheriff's department, what is their budget? And I brought it up, I forgot, he was gonna get to that, because I came up with dead ends. And there should be someone's getting a check from the state for that, so he was gonna work on it.
Do we need to vote on the newsletter?
Actually, we need to vote to approve that money.
Yeah, it was up to
No, it's
$1,000.
taken care of.
It was up to $1,000. And so here would be another valid question, like if the money goes from the state, does it go to the sheriff's department or does it go to the state police? Maybe we're just calling
It's
them
not,
out cops.
it was the county.
Okay,
Yeah, no, it doesn't go to the state.
Yeah, come.
so if a citizen, if there's something happening, they call the state police, but out of the county.
Yeah, well, yeah. State police.
So maybe we're calling one. Just.
No, you probably get more response out of the state police in general all the time.
Sure.
And they have more authority.
Any other public comment? And
Our cleanup day, I was just curious if you guys ever received anything from scrap metal. You're supposed to get a.
good question, man. That's a good question.
So.
Yeah, anything over $279 was supposed to come back to.
Right.
It's
And, yeah.
278.
That's what we gave.
It's full.
Yeah. We paid you to have the scrap metal dumpster delivered and then we got more if it, the.
Yeah. So they don't charge us.
You could get it.
Does not.
Hey, I think I put you in charge of that cleanup day, so you should probably pay for it.
I can call them, yeah, but I just didn't know if you received a check or not.
No,
Cause they said they were gonna send it to PO Box 1, so
Yeah.
That is a township.
they said once they weighed it and all that stuff, they were gonna
Yeah,
issue a check.
It would go
Done
to
deal.
the clerk,
They're not-
the deputy clerk.
We're gonna have that, have to add
It's
it to that.
I'll have my assistant check on this. Any other public
The
comments?
other thing was, I do believe we got approved for the tire grant.
June 28th, I think it is in Calcasas, they'll accept tires. I can,
Started that much more years ago.
should be in the newsletter. Yeah, it'll be too late for July 1st. But yes,
We get 2 trailers
Renee
for
Penny,
just then.
yeah, Renee Penny called me and told me that, it was approved for later. So in June 28th, I think is the day. I will find out what the location is on that too.
Are there any blank properties or vacant properties with tires that we can get volunteers to pick up and take care?
Probably 100 of them.
Okay.
I know there's a few tires in.
That'll be for
I can just have one comment, Dan.
Yes,
The reason I'm here, because you know me, I haven't gone to the meetings, I've been living in town a while, is because I look at that jungle gym over there, that park thing.
it's bad.
It's that bad. And to think that it was approved for what I was told was 60 to 90 grand was the.
Original price was $96,000
Okay.
and then they knocked 35 grand off for a supposed grant.
Yeah, I've run into another nonprofit, yeah, I know, but. They're not off the hook because you didn't correct that anymore. They're not off the hook for anything that they did that isn't up to the quality of the par of what should have been done there.
Mhm.
And I think the sooner you get on top of them, the better. I think that money certainly would have been spent at Freedom Park better, other places better. I don't know whose bright ideas in this town said, well, let's spend 90 grand on a damn jungle gym for kids. We live in Northern Michigan. I mean, the kids ain't climbing trees and pretty busy, but that is just a serious hazard to any children that go into there. And that's not your fault. That's not the township's fault. I don't know where and how that number came up. If you call that company direct tomorrow and wanna be a new customer and say, I wanna put one in my backyard, they're gonna give you. I couldn't imagine it being more than 20 grand.
Mhm.
Now, how much you pay to have it installed, that's up to you. But I think me, you, and a couple of guys in this town on a good weekend could have assembled that. They didn't use Sono,
So they paid over $100,000 for their equipment.
the school did. Well, and they have a higher standard.
Yeah.
No one walked.
3 times the size and.
Yeah, it's quality over there.
You know,
high quality, exactly.
But I would ask, please, before you make any phone calls, that they and I consult.
I think that's good.
And get with you once we get the contract and any other papers that.
Let's get it all together and then.
Yes, definitely before we call, please.
Joanne?
Thank you.
I'm just, a little bit of history, initially, when I talked to Terry Starr, the superintendent, we could have gotten that for, when they were putting in, gonna order new for that, we could have gotten that for $1, their old stuff. But the parks didn't wanna do that, okay? So I just wanna explain, when they decided what they wanted to do, we had snow on the ground, and they wanted the main parks people, I mean, wanted to put it right behind the back stop of the ball field. He said, you can't do that there. It was gonna be volunteer. Chrissy's husband was gonna dig it out. They had it all marked and that, and, I got a few people say can't go there, but they were gonna prepare it. Chrissy's husband was gonna prepare it and all that. So when it was decided with, Brian Bowles, the Spicer Group, we paid him where we're gonna put this. And, Michael Span, he agreed, he was there, and Craig Van Loon was there, he agreed it was there, you were there. So it was decided to go there. But I don't think anything else was discussed about doing it, you know what I mean, to prepare the ground. That was what they were gonna do, was by the other. So when you're saying I'll prepare the ground, I'm thinking, I know that we were gonna get some kind of a deal. That's why it was a rush deal. Why they brought it to the board, if it could be done, while there's still snow on the ground. These guys, they want to keep them working, so that's what was pushed through and they approved it. But as far as the ground fixing it, I think they were probably just saying, well, it's wet, you don't have to dig anything out, but it was never considered that I'm over.
And the actual grant, because that was forwarded to all of us, the grant, part of the written grant said that they got between $10,000 and $50,000 in donations, and nobody got any donations when they applied for that grant. So I mean, if all of the things would have fell into place like they had defined it, it probably would have been about $22,000 to $28,000 playground equipment with site work, but none of the stuff that was written in the grant happened. Nobody got $10,000 to $50,000 in donations. You know what I mean? If you looked at the numbers in that way, it would be literally, I compared equipment online with other playground distributors that do the same thing for municipalities, and they were all between $22,000 and $28,000. So,
Could
you
probably
know,
have it from the Chinese for about $5,000.
well, it would
That's
just
probably
all,
what they want.
Yeah, then
it
you
would
get
just,
higher.
if it all lined out in their grant, which was really a discount the way that it read, but if it all fell out that way, it still would have been the same amount of money that if you would have went to anybody else that you would have had for it. It was just overpriced, and it was pushed through and it's small, and I agree, it's something that would be in somebody's backyard. And, I'm a big fan of Freedom Park, and my kids would much rather, when they were younger, play in the river and run around than they would.
Anyone that doesn't know
So-
about the story, we inherited this.
Yes.
They're well aware, that's
why I was thinking,
This board did not.
From this point on, you don't make those mistakes tonight.
Exactly. It's
But the Marvel Parks and Rec ramrodded this thing through.
We understand.
Her point, we got,
And I think a homeowner would have got a better price than a municipality.
Okay, you know, I'll stay and talk if you want, but we're gonna adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Superintendent.
It is 9:57.
Being experienced.
The other, less Jim know. I've got the paperwork. Jim, you know, the vice president that asks the rest every year that Bridge Street. So, yeah. I don't know the same, no, I've talked to two different groups, I gave them the numbers, one bicycle group that said.
Is this the ride around torch?
Torch.
Yes.
Well, that's Cherry, the capital Cherry.
Because he could go.
No, I know.
So.
I don't know if that guy's the same guy, because I can talk to other ones. And she had.
The main thing to ask about is kind of where they get from.
Because I was told, yeah,